Welcome in, everyone, to the Lucky Bets podcast, Lucky Shots podcast, Lucky Bets episode here with Dylan Corbet. Another kind of just rocky week, whether it was the actual scores of the games, whether it was your fantasy lineups. I finally got my first win, but I'm in 6 leagues and I'm 1-5. So it's not a hot start to fantasy, but we're going to turn that around this week. Gonna hop right in with the lines for this week. I didn't really fall in love with any of the lines. I do got one that I like, but I'm smashing more the overs and unders this week.
Sure.
So the one I'm going to start with, the only line that I do like is Detroit and Minnesota. Detroit sitting at plus 200. We just kind of talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown before the show. I'm liking the way that they're playing. Not saying that Detroit, I'm not saying it's their year, but they're playing pretty good football, and a lot of players on that team really playing well. So I like Detroit in that game, plus 200, and the spread is also 6. So I believe it could be a close game, could be inside of that spread, but we'll see.
Yeah, that was a coin flip game for me on Monday night. Vikings fans were getting hyped for it. And of course, it was, sports talk radio. The fan line was in full effect after that dud against Philly. Philly, they look legit. They faced that Lions team, went on to win. Commanders got humbled, certainly, by the Lions. So, yeah, 2-0 against the number for Detroit. Vegas telling you something right here where they're Minnesota. You're going, wait a second. We just all watched that on Monday. How are the Vikings -6? I'll give you, it's the same thing for what they did with the Patriots this past weekend. Steelers, they were favored. We're all going, what the heck? They ended up, that number closed at -3 Patriots. So if you got it early, you cashed. I think it's another thing here where everyone's flocking to the Lions because they're going, what the hell's going on? Viking Stadium's a real tough place to play. I like just going to games there, even if I don't have a rooting interest, because it's that great of an atmosphere, not a bad seat in the house. And Vikings fans, Minnesota fan base is so tepid. They're willing to throw out, if they were in Philly, they would get crucified all week. They're willing to throw out that loss. They're still going to pack the house, support them here at home. And I think it could be a bounce back for the Vikings. So that's my only kind of, word of wariness for maybe the Lions bet. But who knows? Yeah, Detroit's been absolutely solid this year.
Yeah, there's not a big confidence line right there, but it was the only one that I saw that was favorable in my direction. I am going Detroit this week in normal picks as well. So just gonna try to ride that. But let me smash the overs and unders here. I've got 4 of them. Cincinnati versus the Jets. Give me over 45.5. That's where it's sitting right now. I think it's a bounce back week for Cincinnati, and I don't think their defense can stop anybody. And Joe fucking Flacco apparently is a quarterback. So give me the over there. Give me the under in the Green Bay Tampa Bay game. It's sitting at 42. Tampa Bay's offense hasn't put up a whole lot of points, and their defense doesn't allow a lot of points. We've already kind of seen a stinker from Green Bay offensively in week 1. They did kind of get that back this past week, but it was against Chicago. So I like the under for that game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. Hopefully Tampa Bay finally gets something figured out offensively. It's getting kind of ridiculous. Then the Cowboys and the Giants. The over-under sitting at 39.5. Give me the over. I'm going to go ahead and take the over. Cooper Rush didn't look terrible for Dallas. They do have quite a bit of weapons. The Giants are starting to kind of play football. So I think they'll score a bit. And 39.5, you're sitting at like a 20 to 23 game. That gives you the over there. So I like that. And then the last one, Cleveland and Pittsburgh. It's a riskier one, but it's 38, and I'm going to go the over on that as well. Not necessarily confident of either team scoring, but Pittsburgh's defense didn't look all that great last week without TJ Watt, like I thought they would. So give me the over there.
Yeah, I like it. I'll just kind of quickly recap some of the interesting things from last week and then run through some lines that popped out to me this week. Miami had no business covering, let alone winning that game. That's the shocking underdog upsets from this past week. I think we're crazy. Like, no business. I wasn't even thinking about how Nick Chubb was like, yeah, I lost the game by scoring that touchdown because it opened the door. They could have just needed it. Fantasy owners, I think we're fine with him scoring that. But yeah, it ended up the Jets cashing as underdogs. Crazy. Tampa, another boring win, but they get it done. The Colts. I mean, you're texting me. Everyone's hating me because they think me jumping on the Colts bandwagon, I'm cursed. So I immediately just soiled that team. They look dreadful. I think as soon as I saw Pittman Jr. go out, I was like, something's up here. This is going to be terrible. I didn't think it would be that bad. My God. Mentioned the Patriots, Lions. Yeah, Giants 2-0, but they've beaten the Titans in Carolina. Atlanta somehow keeps on covering. Jimmy G all of a sudden. I told you, death taxes and Cooper Rush, Bengals Super Bowl hangover a little bit in full effect there. All right, yeah, so let's just run through this week here quickly. Let's not touch the Colts line, but the Chiefs are so public. They're 2-0 against the number. Indianapolis is 0-2. It's the first home game for Matt Ryan for the Colts. I'm just saying, again, I've watched this team with you guys. There's nothing to believe in here. But if you want a trap game, it's everyone falling into that one potentially for Survivor. Yeah, Cleveland favored against Pittsburgh. Like, both these teams I don't think are good, but the line is moving towards Cleveland and the public's on Pittsburgh. So keep an eye on that game. That could be like a shock Cleveland coast winner. I think Baltimore, New England's going to be a great game. Do we give New England a little bit more credit? What did you make of, because now we've kind of seen these two teams face each other as where the Dolphins look good against the Patriots, and maybe that loss for the Patriots doesn't look so bad anymore because they come in and beat the Ravens. Then all of a sudden, hey, that's a 1-0 Steelers team that the Patriots came in and ground out a victory. What do you make of maybe the AFC East there?
I think the Patriots are still probably the 3 in that division. Just seeing what happened week 1, it just didn't look good. They looked better this week. But I'm still not going to trust in New England until there's like a decisive, they just played a good game of football, because I still haven't seen a week of them playing just good football.
Yeah.
On both sides. So I'm not going to overreact and say that they're terrible, but I'm going to wait and see how the next few games go. And because it's hard. Coming out of college, I thought Mac Jones was going to be the best rookie quarterback out of that class.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to wait and see. He's still progressing.
Yeah, definitely. So an intriguing game there. My official plays here, I'm going to go with the Bears in a bounce back. Texans are 2-0 against the number. Bears are 1-0 at home. I think it's going to be, everyone saw, they always stink against Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is their father. I think they come home and they get it done, and kind of keying in, and -2.5 for the Bears at home. You just need a field goal victory. So I like that. And then I'll go with your Broncos. I've been kind of crapping on them all year long. You as well have kind of, realized, hey, is Russ the answer? You're not, as a fan, liking what you're seeing so far, but I hope you will this Sunday, because I think everyone's loving Jimmy G. Jimmy G's back. They coast over the Seahawks. The Seahawks obviously beat Denver, so everyone's, pinpointing everything to say it's going to be the 49ers. I say not so fast. I think Mile High Stadium plays at night. The altitude, I think, is going to get to Jimmy G, who didn't really have a full starters camp, so maybe him getting back into the altitude there. I'll take Denver as the home underdog spot there. Again, I'm not a believer in the 49ers. I think that was a flash in the pan and a letdown spot coming up. Bounce back for the Broncos too. Ground out the victory, but didn't cover.
Honestly, I was excited to see what the Niners would look like with Trey Lance. We didn't get to see really any of that. He had a shit game to play in week 1, got hurt week 2. But I honestly like the 49ers better with Jimmy G at this point. They at least have an offensive identity with him in there. And then with the Broncos, I don't think it has anything to do with the players. I don't think it's Russ. I don't think he's the problem. I don't think any of the players are the problem. It's the head coach. It's the play calling. It's fucking not getting a play in until you have 10 seconds on the play clock. I don't know what's so hard about just I'm not an NFL coach, but you can at least get the play in
Right.
soon enough to run the play and not have to either take a delay a game or a timeout. That happened so much last week, along with just shitty play calling as it was. I don't think it's the Broncos players, it's the coaching staff, which is terrifying because that's not something you can really work with.
And they're brand new.
Yeah.
And to your 49ers point, yeah, I kind of said it on my podcast this week. It's like, we're 49ers fans almost relieved. You know, you never want to root for an injury, but it's like, at least you know what you're getting with Jimmy G. With Trey Lance, there was a question mark where it's like, wait, how bad could this be in the super small sample size that we had? Again, which we can't really draw much conclusion from. Unfortunate start for Lance's career. He's not going to be playing football for like the last 3 years. And then, yeah, to your point here with the, I saw an interesting article on The Ringer, which was like, okay, the Broncos head coach, who they kind of brought in to try and lure Aaron Rodgers, was that they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, and now you're stuck with a guy that's having trouble, even being a head coach for the first time, it appears, in 2 games. Hopefully he gets a big time dub this weekend, and I'm sure you as a fan would enjoy that. But yeah, questions to raise certainly early on.
Yeah, because I mean, I would be happy about the win this week, but it looked fucking terrible against Houston.
Right.
So
yeah, not encouraging.
Can't be too excited. All right, so let's hop into DFS. I've decided that Dylan and I are going to go head to head in DFS every week.
Let's do it.
As of right now, we are 1-1.
Yeah, you had to crush me last week, right?
I didn't crush it. I only beat you by like 6 points, so pretty close. So sitting at 1-1 right now. Going to start out with my quarterback for the week. I just talked about him in lines. Give me Jared Goff at quarterback for 5,800. Projected 15.6 going against Minnesota, who, and I believe Jared Goff had 26 points last week. Was the quarterback 9?
Yeah,
I can get
sounds about
anywhere close to a quarterback 10 for 5,800, and I'm able to stack up the rest of my team the way I did. I'll take that every single day.
Yeah, so Stafford was fine, didn't really do anything major for my lineup last week. I had some late lineups where I threw in Daniel Jones, and it's like, that was a complete dud. So I'm going a little bit safer for my official lineup this time. Give me Mahomes, almost a little hedge to my fandom there, because he's going to absolutely destroy the Colts. Either the Colts are going to win outright or they're going to lose 49-3. And in that case, Mahomes is throwing 7 touchdowns. So yeah, Mahomes, he's like the 3rd most expensive quarterback. So it's like, all right, I'll take maybe the best quarterback on the field right now in the NFL for a 1/3 of the price there, or the, 3rd to highest price. So I'm going the safe play there at quarterback.
At running back, I'm going with, I don't really like my running backs, but I like the upside for the first guy with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 6,300, only projected 11.8, going against Indy. But he's the running back 5 so far this year, averaging 19.1 points against a defense that we thought was good going into the year. They haven't been. Players have been able to score points, and Clyde sitting at 19.1 in the first 2 games. I'll go ahead and take him. And then my second running back pick, I absolutely hate. I'm off this guy on fantasy all the time, but he's looking pretty damn good. Miles Sanders, sitting at 5,500, projected 13.4 against Washington. Last week had 15.1 points, 88 rushing yards. That was it. But, let's get a little more. Maybe he gets a touchdown this week. Really riding on hopefully getting a touchdown with that stat line. Put him up in the 20s somewhere. And then if you look at Washington's defense, they gave up 19.1 week 1 to James Robinson. They gave up 16.7 last week to DeAndre Swift. Let's get Miles Sanders in there for a 15+ point game. I like that as my play.
To your Colts point, that's what's so frustrating is, Matt Ryan's looked terrible, but it's like, this was supposed to be his best offensive line in his career. They can't keep him upright. He all of a sudden he's throwing to Atlanta's targets again, where Pittman Jr. was out, but Mo Alley Cox can't bring in a touchdown. Paris Campbell can't get open for 1 target. And the defense. This was supposed to be a great defense. Matt Ryan can't do anything about that. It's been so frustrating. Give me regular season Lenny. Leonard Fournette. Something's up with Tom Brady, and Fournette's been feasting off of that. They're just handing off to him. So hopefully he keeps getting points there. Green Bay, Tampa Bay is going to be a very intriguing matchup. I hate this, I don't feel confident about this too, but he's got the Texans coming in. I'll go Montgomery, kind of hoping that same thinking as yours. He gets a 70-yard game and a touchdown and get 15 points in the door there for 5,900.
I don't mind those, but this is where I absolutely spent a majority of my budget saving money with Jared Goff. Give me Jamar Chase, 30-point week 1, kind of a dud last week. He was 8,100, projected 17.5 this week, going against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever a game for the Bengals to bounce back and for Jamar Chase to have a huge game, it's got to be this game. He already has a 30-point game, like I said. The Jets gave up a 21.4 point week to Devin Duvernay in week 1, 25 last week to Amari Cooper, washed up Amari Cooper. Give me the young Jamar Chase, 10 targets, 100-some yards, touchdown, maybe 2. I'm definitely spending up there. Then he's been on, I think, my DFS every single week. We keep talking about him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7,200. He's projected 17.5 as well against Minnesota. He had 20.5 points in week 1 against Philly, 39.5 last week against Washington. So give that guy to me. Wide receiver 4 on the year, averaging almost 30 points. Going to be a huge week again this week, I believe, for him. And then my final wide receiver, kind of riding the wave of Curtis Samuel, 5,100, projected 12.9 against Philly. He's a wide receiver 8 so far, has a 21-point average, has 20 targets through 2 games. So I like that. And he's turned it into 15 catches and a touchdown, both week 1 and week 2. So hopefully continue to ride that way.
I spent up as well. I've got a big bounce back for Justin Jefferson at home against the Lions. T. Higgins was solid coming back from injury. 6,100, I think you could expect against a weak Jets secondary, hopefully 15, maybe an upside of 20, again, depending on how many targets, again, go back Chase's way. You never can, it's 1 week, one thing for the Patriots at running back and receiver. It's the next thing the next week. So Aguilar went off this week. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers this week, 5,000. Those are my 3 receivers.
Yeah, both of us in that third receiver option. Going with a guy that it could be their week.
Yeah.
Could be any of the other couple receivers on that team's week. So be interesting to see how that turns out. At tight end, got him for the cheap, and I kind of like it. Irv Smith Jr. projected only 6.6 against Detroit, but he had 5 catches for 36 yards and a tutty last week for 14.6 points against Philly. Give him those same amount of targets. I think he got 8 targets. I like that. Hopefully get a touchdown, steal maybe one of those touchdowns from Justin Jefferson on your lineup. And he's relatively cheap at 3,100. So,
well, too bad for you. I've got him in my lineup as well. Irv Smith. That's what's funny is he had 0. He had a goose egg in week 1. And then, they couldn't not find him as I was watching that game on Monday. So I've got him in there too. I'm utilizing the double tight end here for tight end and flex. Irv Smith's in my flex. I've got Logan Thomas again. Just give me a good 10 at a weak position. They're looking to him.
Oh, in my flex, you've got this is a hope for all my other fantasy lineups as well. Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Guy's gotten 22 targets in the first 2 weeks, but is only averaging like 10 points or something like that. He had 15 in the first week, which is a solid line. He's the obvious number 1 guy for that team. They're giving him targets. He's just not making the most of them. And to his credit, they haven't been the best targets.
Yeah.
But it's got to be his week. 5,800 going against Chicago, projected 14.7. So just for the love of God, let him get 8 to 9 catches, somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 yards and a touchdown. He's due. He is due for that stat line. I'm hoping it is this week.
And the Broncos defense certainly no slouch either. I mean, I'm sure Surtain was kind of following them around.
Stan got hurt early in
Bengals,
the game.
right? True.
Yeah.
Bengals. I think were both of our picks last week, and it kind of backfired. Right? It was all right. I'll go Seahawks this time. I don't think Atlanta is going to do much, even though a lot of their touchdowns last week was in garbage time, like punt block, like weird stuff was happening. I think the Seahawks will get something going against Mariota.
Let me spend up again.
Whoa.
Going with a defense that is absolutely stifling, and they have to be because the offense is being piss poor. But give me Tampa Bay for 3,100. Again, they're going against Green Bay. They're averaging as a defense 18 and a half points a game. They are killing it. In week 2, or not, just kidding. Over the season, 4 interceptions, 10 sacks. They've got a touchdown, defensive touchdown, and they had 25 points last week. Green Bay's offense is shaky. Sure, they look good against Chicago. They didn't look good against Minnesota.
Nope.
So I'm going to expect, like I said, I'm going to think it's a defensive struggle game. I think that they get to Rodgers quite a few times, probably pick him off, hopefully get another touchdown, a defensive pick 6, something like that. But I'm putting it all in on a few players in this lineup. Really want to beat you by at least more than 6 because it was pretty stressful putting together the numbers last week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So 1-1 this week to see who can jump out in front early season.
Yes, sir. Now we'll get into prop bets, which we are also going to do head to head as well. Both of us went 5-1 week 1.
Yeah,
we were sitting pretty tight there. Last week, absolutely atrocious for me. You killed it. You went 5-2. One of our lines was on Michael Pittman, so that one was just a scratch. 5-2 for you. 2-5 for me.
Okay.
Ouch. Tough. So we're sitting at you're 10-3. I'm 7-6. I got to make up some ground on you with these. We're gonna go with the first prop. Tom Brady or Russell Wilson, more fantasy points this week. Brady had 9.4 last week against Green Bay. Wilson had 11.6. And Brady's going against Green Bay. Wilson is going against San Fran.
I think both teams and quarterbacks will win, but Tampa knows how to win without Brady doing anything. I think it's a big game for Russ. He finally has a good showing in front of the home crowd. I'll go Wilson.
Yeah, I just said I need to make up ground, but it's until this offense for Tampa Bay starts doing something, it's going to be hard to bet on Brady, which is tough because he's one of my fantasy quarterbacks. Of course, the 1 year that I finally am like, okay, I'll draft him, doesn't do anything. So I got to go Wilson there as well. We're going to go Tua next. Had a huge week 2. Higher or lower 2.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns against Buffalo.
Bro, I'm turning into a believer. I'm going to grill both of us on my podcast because we were both, 2-on. We were not believers. And I think Tyreek Hill gives, they were wide receiver 1 and 2 on the same team. There's something going on with an offensive coach now. Tua, I got to ride the Tua train all of a sudden. I'll go over.
Yeah, had it not been for Stephon Diggs, those two would have been top 2 with 11 catches, over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Absolutely huge game for them. But it's against Buffalo's defense. I just talked up Tampa Bay's defense. Buffalo's defense is even worse. I got to go lower.
No,
I think he'll get 2, but not 2.5. I don't think he'll get 3. So Buffalo's defense is just too stifling. It's going to be a good game if Miami can compete the way they did last week, but Buffalo is just showing the entire league we are better than you, and there is a reason we are the Super Bowl favorites for the whole year.
I'm excited about this game. I'll give you a bonus take because, Bills look great, but it's like, wait a second, what did the Rams just do versus the Falcons? Okay, Titans look real bad now. I'm starting to believe in the Dolphins all of a sudden. I thought they had no chance against the Ravens. No, every team would have walked out of there and just took the L. They came back and win it. Miami in September is a hot, humid place to play. Division game. I think the Dolphins get this on, or at least keep it close. The line's interesting too, plus 4.5. But all right, we'll see here with Tua.
Just keep in mind with Tua, He only had 2 touchdowns before the fourth quarter, and they were playing catch up.
Yep, good point. No, that number's interesting at 2.5.
So, I mean, we'll see. They'll probably be playing catch up again. So there's a good
True,
chance he
right.
could throw another 6, but I got to go under there. So Aaron Jones, he's coming off a huge week, just showing the league, hey, put the ball in my hands. This is what happens. I've been saying it the past couple of years. I was a little iffy this year because, the 50-50 split
Right.
with him and AJ Dillon, but he showed, give me the damn ball. I make things happen. Higher or lower than 70 rushing yards this week, going up against Tampa. He had 132 last week.
Yeah, that's a low number. Interesting. That seems spot on, but I'll go under because I think Tampa wins that game. I think they're going to do it in a sloppy way.
Yeah. I originally had this number at 90, but I was like, that's easily under there. 70 is a tougher number, especially if he gets a couple of big runs. It already puts him close to it. But I don't see it happening. Tampa's defense is just absolutely menacing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go under there as well. Zeke Elliott or Tony Pollard, same backfield. Who has more fantasy points? Elliott last week had 5.9. For Pollard, had 4.2 in week 1, but 19.8 last week. He's trying to show Jerry Jones, hey, get over Zeke Elliott. I'm the guy. They're going against New York Giants.
I think the Giants, as much as I don't think the Giants are that good, but I think they win this one because everyone thinks the Cowboys are now going to go on a win streak with Cooper Rush. I say not so fast in the Meadowlands. I think you're right, and Jerry Jones should make that move sooner rather than later. Tony Pollard, I have both of them on one bench, and neither are cracking my starting lineup because I don't know what to do. I'll go Pollard.
Yeah, I've got to go Pollard too. I was hoping you'd go Zeke, but Pollard's a guy even I talked about last year. Just it's obvious. Mm-hmm. It is obvious, but they've spent the money on Zeke and they don't want to give that up. So. Yep. I still think Pollard gets it done. He's the receiving back as well, so he's got more opportunities in my mind. Give me Pollard there. Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs, head-to-head matchup. Who has more receptions? Hill had 11. Diggs had 12 last week.
Give me Hill. I think the Dolphins defense is not one to be reckoned with or snoozed on either. I think Diggs he's not going to be running as freely as he did against Tennessee. I'll say that. So I'll go Hill.
I've got to go Diggs. Yeah. He's obvious number one guy. It's been that way. Last year was a little weird. He didn't get these kind of targets. It was probably because I drafted him. I don't have him on my teams this year. So obviously he's going to go get a bunch of targets. What really sucks for me is I'm playing both of these guys in a fantasy league. One fantasy league. I'm playing against Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill. So rest in peace, my fantasy team. I got to go Stephon Diggs. Both those guys. It's gonna be a fun matchup, but I got to go Diggs. I think that's how the Bills get up in this game. It's throwing to Diggs, throwing him a couple touchdowns. So. Then we've got Garrett Wilson and Drake London, the rookies that are apparently sensations from last week. Who's got more total yards? Wilson had 100 last week. London had 86. Wilson's going against Cincinnati, and London is going against Seattle.
I like the Jets this week. I don't know why. Something's going on in Cincinnati, and I'm moving Garrett Wilson into the bench. Off the bench into the starting lineup after his 30-point performance. Who's Atlanta got again? Sorry.
Atlanta has Seattle.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's going to be a crap game. So I'll go Wilson.
Shit. I got to go Wilson as well. I can't go against an Ohio State guy.
Of course.
Yes. Love seeing that. And on the subject of Ohio State guys, Chris Olave got 12 targets last week. I'm liking that. Mm-hmm. Keep giving them those opportunities. And they were a lot of deep balls. Yeah. Which is exactly what he was in Ohio State. Ooh, I'm loving the way that is going to look when it starts connecting. But
how about your boy, speaking of Ohio State, Justin Fields, ripping Chicago a little bit? Yikes.
I don't even want to talk about Justin Fields.
Yeah.
What was it he said? That that half the receivers he's throwing to wouldn't even make the starting lineup for Ohio State, something like that. So
You might not be wrong. How about Darnell Mooney throwing up a couple of goose eggs, cutting it
oh
up?
yeah. Speaking of, if you have Darnell Mooney, drop his ass. He had 0 in week 1, 0.6 last week, had 1 catch for negative yards. Fade that guy. Let's move on to the tight end position. Tyler Higbee or Zach Ertz, more fantasy points. Higbee had 14.1 last week, going up against Arizona this week. Ertz had 15.5. He's going up against the Rams. So head-to-head matchup again here. Which tight end helps your fantasy team more?
I think they're both going to be just right hovering around 10 points. I'll go Ertz.
Okay. I'll be willing to take the difference here. I'll go Tyler Higbee. Like you said, they're going to be close. I do like Zach Ertz more. That's why he's on 2 of my fantasy teams, and I really hope he does outscore Tyler Higbee. But for the sake of being different, they're so close. I'll take Tyler Higbee here. And then how about not a dud, not a Kyle Pitts dud at tight end, but TJ Hawkinsocks. Higher or lower 4.5 receptions. He has yet to break 4 receptions, 4 and 3 in weeks 1 and 2. He's going up against Minnesota this week.
It's because they got more weapons now with your boy Amon. I'm going to go under. I think the Vikings defense is going to come to play. And again, they're going to be looking on the outside rather than over the middle.
I really wanted to go under, but this would be 3 different for us. So I'll take higher than 4. Give me 5. I think he's due. I'm not going to say like other players, he is the best player on that offense, but possibly Minnesota figures out, hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown, that guy over there is pretty damn good. We're going to double cover him. Maybe it opens up Hawkinson more. Yeah. Hoping for at least 5. So I'll take higher than 4.5 there. That is it for this week. I'm not going to tie it up, but I might. I'm only 3 off. So
yep.
We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I gain some ground on you here in prop bets. Hopefully, edge you out in DFS as well. But that's it for this week, guys. Go follow Dylan Corbet, or go follow Dylan at Dylan Corbet on most social media platforms. Check out his content on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I saw you're possibly starting to do some golf content as well.
Yeah, I've been I love golfing. I've gotten kind of serious about my clubs, and I've got like a swing bay in my house here. So I love the game. I could golf every day if I could, and I'm slowly trying to get better. So, and I've got, equipment. So I'm kind of trying to do like, live holes and see if I broke 90 last year, 85 this year. I'm trying for 80 and just keep trying the road to par, I guess you could call it.
There you go. That you just made yourself a whole nother playlist of channels.
Because I like viewing golf content on YouTube too. Like Good does a great job. Yes. Those guys are great to follow. I like Busta Jack, which is down in Dallas. Those guys are cool. And yeah, I watch golf every weekend on the PGA Tour too. So it's I'm obsessed about it a little bit. Thought I'd bring some content.
Who's your favorite good golfer? We'll get that out of the way as well.
Dude, I think it's the 2 guys I look together. I like Grant a lot. I think Grant's fantastic. I like Micah too. I guess Grant and Micah are probably my 2 favorites. How about you?
I like Bubba because he feels more like the odd man out. He's not as good as everyone else, but sometimes he just hits some great shots. He just tries to muscle the ball, and I love it. So yeah, I really like Bubba. But that is Dylan, and go check out his golf content coming soon, and check me out on his podcast, Corbet's Corner. And then tune in tomorrow for the week 2 recap, week 3 thoughts, and catch my picks. I wouldn't listen to my picks. I'm not doing so hot in those yet this year, but it's been a weird couple weeks, so gonna turn that around this week. But thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks to Dylan for being on the show, and I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you next week.